So there's two different types of processes when it comes to buying a home. And I think a lot of real estate agents don't really go over that with many of their clients. In fact, I know many of don't because when I do talk to a lot of buyers who have actually met with a real estate agent or worked with one, they weren't told a lot of things and didn't understand what they were doing. They were just following the motions and trying to get by so that they could get to closing. Some of them ended up losing money, some of them ended up losing the house, and some of them end up just getting very disgusted with the whole process and didn't want to buy anymore. So I think a lot of times it makes sense to sit down with a buyer to educate them. And there's a lot involved when you're buying a home. So I'm going to cover today just a couple of processes on this, just briefly. I'm not going to go into too much detail because there's a lot involved. But what I will do for the next coming weeks is start to dissect every process, every little section of what happens when you buy a home. Now, will you learn everything? No, you won't. But that's what us as real estate agents are here for, to guide you through this process, to help you to understand what it is and why you are doing what you're doing. Because buying a home is one of the hugest and the biggest, transactions of your life you're going to do. And it's one of the biggest purchases you're going to make in your lifetime. So you want to make sure that what you're doing is in the best interest of yourself. You're buying a home that you know that you can turn around and sell within the next 5 to 10 years, or reinvest, or take the equity out to do an investment or buy a flip, or maybe an Airbnb or rental, whatever it is. But the thing is you want to make sure that what you're doing is at the best interest of you and your family. So I'm going to show you right now some of the processes just to give you an idea of how this works and let you know that there's a lot involved. And that is what realtors do, is they manage these processes to help you get to the closing table. So let's take a look at these processes, okay? So first of all, one of the things that I'm going to show you here is this is the actual contract to close, okay? So the contract to close is really the process of the actual contract itself, okay? So this is basically telling you how the contract runs. You got your termination, your contract that you signed, your appraisal, your inspections, your walkthrough, what happens at your lender's office, and then you got your funding. So this is a really good guide to let you know how everything works. Now, this can actually take anywhere from 30 to 45 days. And that means because you've already met with the lender, you've got approved, you know where you're at. So this is your contract to close. And this is what a real estate agent manages. They manage these different processes to make sure that you get to closing, that you have a nice walkthrough, and that you get to closing excited, happy, and ready to get your keys, okay? So that's your contract to close, okay? Now we talk about your actual buying process, okay? Now your buying process is where you go through the pre-approval, you're finding the house, making the offer, the application, the whole contract. You go through your option period, your lender stuff, your appraisal, all these different things that are happening here until you also get to contract and funding, and now you're a homeowner. Now, this is another process that is more contained to the lender, but the loan officer and the real estate agent are managing this to make sure that you are getting everything you need to get. Because there are times when a buyer is not responding to a lender, so then the realtor gets involved to say, okay, we need this, we need that, to make sure that the closing stays on track. So this is another process, but this is the buying process more on the lender side of it. But it goes hand in hand, because if you can't get the things you need for your lender, then you're not going to get to closing, and you're going to end up losing money, and you're also going to end up losing the house. So this is another process that us as real estate agents manage as well. So when people say, oh, what does a realtor really do? Well, this is a lot of it. You're talking about a contract to close, which is this information here. And this can take anywhere from, like I said, 30 to 45 days, sometimes even 60 days, unless there's hiccups or things that go on. And then this process is about 30 to 45 days as well, unless there all is issues as well, which could be an appraisal issue, which could be in a process issue, or a buyer's not responding, or maybe there's a commitment problem on title, whatever it is, there's so many different things that can happen. But these are the things that as a real estate agent manages, and there's so much involved. So when you look at this, you know, telling, a lot of buyers and sellers, this is what we do is a lot. And they don't realize that we do a lot to manage this process, to keep this deal going, to make sure that you get to the end. That's why when we tell you we want to get pre-approved, we want to make sure that you get those things in, so that way the process and the journey to closing is so much less stress. So those are a couple of processes that I'm talking about. The buyer process, which is more on the lender side, that we manage as well. The contract to close, which is the contract part of it once you're under contract. And that's another 30 to 45 days, which we manage as well. So I hope this kind of puts a little bit more perspective, but that is a lot of what we do as real estate agents. If you're not seeing that from your realtor, then there's a possibility they're not even paying attention to that, because they just send you the lender. You don't even know what's going on, and it's all your lender maybe trying to follow up with you and keep things going. But as a real estate agent, I always make sure that all these things are happening and that everything is going as planned and smoothly. So I hope you get some information, good information out of this. If you have any questions whatsoever about this, let me know. You can reach me out to me at 210-942-4893. But this gives you a pretty big picture, but it's what we do as real estate agents. If you have a great real estate agent, this is what they're going to do. They're going to manage these processes to make sure you get to closing and get your keys and you're happy.